Hey, blessed be everyone. Hello and welcome to another episode of Black Magic Talk. We have the wonderful and very absolutely fabulous looking Mark NeCamp, excuse me, Jr. And he's going to talk to us today. We're going to interview him for a little bit. And like I said, Mark, I hope your favorite subject is about you. So you can go ahead and say hi. I'm sorry.
Hi, everyone.
So we'll jump right into it because we are a little late tonight. But again, my son is asleep, so we can go all night if that's what you wish. But we don't usually only go an hour. So Mark, tell us about yourself, how you got on your path, and anything else. And then I'm sort of not feeling well, everyone. So I will let Matt. He's over here. Okay. I will let Matt over here take over the question. So, Mark, tell us about yourself, how you got on your path, and any little quirks about you that we need to know about.
Sure. Well, we'll go to the secret origin story of Mark and how he got into magic. So, I grew up in Chicago, and Chicago is a very culturally rich city. Now, kind of like where I started really says a lot about where I'm going. So, I do believe things kind of go in a circle. And fun fact for trivia out there, I do have an Ouroboros tattoo. So, I'll leave that for you to guess where. So, I grew up in Chicago, and for anyone who doesn't realize, for my brown skin tone, I'm multiracial or biracial, and my mother's side of the family is African American. My dad's side's German, mostly German American with some French, and I grew up about 2 miles, or actually a little less, from the largest religious candle company in the country at the time, called Lama Temple. They're closed now, and my mother always had kind of a weird interest in like the occult, the supernatural. She really wasn't much of a practitioner until later, and I might touch on that late in a bit. But she was always curious about these things, so she said, "Hey, Mark," and I was always her willing sidekick. I was my parents divorced when I was young, and my mom, I was like literally the Robin to her Batman. So she's like, "Hey, Mark, let's go to this candle shop." And we went there, and she's like, "Oh, look at this. And you can curse people, and you can do this and do love spells." And she thought it was like super cool. And so we would go there once in a while. And then when I was about, I don't know, 17 or so, I kind of went there and started asking questions. And there was this old black man with a gold tooth, and he had on like an auto mechanic onesie on, and then on his name tag said Goldfinger. And he started teaching me about hoodoo. He said, "Kid, there's something to you, so let me teach you some things." So around the same time, I was always interested in like sci-fi and fantasy and stuff like that. And I'd go to the bookstores. Like literally, my favorite thing was going to Barnes and Noble, and I would picked up like a copy of the Necronomicon, like some dumb kid who had like some stupid interest in the occult. And so I started like working through some of the Necronomicon stuff, but I took it very seriously. My friends were like, "Oh, this is a joke." I said, "No, I think there's something here." Now, if you ever the version of the Necronomicon I had that was popular in the mid to late 90s, it had some actually invocations, but none of the banishings. As a result, my bedroom, I'm not my bedroom, I'm sorry, my basement got really, really funky. At the same time, I was studying like a lot of Michael Harner's work with, his core shamanism. Um, I grew up Catholic. Now, the Catholic church I went to, there's not many African American Catholic churches. At least there weren't in Chicago. But we went to an African American Catholic church. Our priest, if he wasn't celibate, would have been gay. The choir was like kind of like a standard, like black church choir that was like amazing. And my mom was a choir director. And there's a little collection of old ladies in the back with colorful necklaces. Now, I didn't know until years later that these little old ladies were initiates in Santeria. So that's kind of like the background that I grew up in, like religiously and spiritually. Now, at the same time, I was asking some questions the church could answer that I was looking towards an Eastern philosophy. So I started going to like Buddhist temples and centers and learning a lot about Buddhism, especially Tibetan Buddhism, as much as I could. And I was just absorbing knowledge. And even to this day, I'm a bit of a sponge. So at the same time, my best friend was Hari Krishna. I was actually from India. And so culturally speaking, to a lot of Indian people that I know, if you talk to them about the Hari Krishnas, it's almost like how in America, Christians will talk about the Jehovah's Witnesses, like, okay, those guys are kind of doing something different. But I was still interested. I really got into worship of Ganesh, of course, with Krishna, Shiva, and things like that, and deities like that. Now, I go away to college, and by some weird coincidence, that's a whole another long story. I start working at a pagan shop, and the manager of the pagan shop became my first high priestess for like the first coven I was in, and I learned a great deal from her. And we were kind of doing a mix of, you know, almost like Gardnerian witchcraft combined with like ecstatic witchcraft, a la Reclaiming from like Starhawk. So we were kind of doing like a weird mix of stuff on our own. So that's kind of how I started into things. And from there, in that community, I had a lot of amazing teachers. I had one teacher who was a chakra healer and an energy healer who I learned a great deal from. I had another teacher in like ceremonial magic, which kind of was a springboard for like initiation to a Golden Dawn offshoot at one point, and also Freemasonry. So I've studied a lot of different systems. I was also more than a bit of a chaos magician. And I have definitely some interesting stories there that are probably not appropriate for YouTube, but you can definitely ask over a glass of absinthe. So yeah, and that's kind of like the 25-cent tour of like my spirituality. Now, kind of where that leads me to now, and even where I'm going, is that from studying all these systems, part of me was saying, okay, there has to be some sort of like unified field theory of magic. There has to be something that all these different schools of magic have in common, aside from we're going to use supernatural means to accomplish something extraordinary. There has to be something a little different, or something other than that they have in common that is universal, that touches everyone, that we can speak of. And this is kind of racking my brain. So fast forward, I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where my mom and stepdad were living, and they're both passed on now. And my mother, God bless her, I know she's about to laugh. Literally, can never keep a secret from this woman. No filter at all. So she's telling everyone, "Oh, my son's a witch, and he's into the occult, and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm gonna get burned to the effing stake here." And Albuquerque is a weird place. It's the only place I've been to, and I've been about 32 out of 50 states and some of Canada at this point in my life. And it's the only place I've been to. I'm sure there's places in Texas like this, but literally there's a dude dressed as a cowboy with a machine gun strapped on his back, riding a horse on a street downtown street. I'm like, I am in the Wild West. So that being said, the kind of magical hotbed of Albuquerque is a mix of Mexican sorcery, Native American spirituality, and a whole bunch of weird Christianity, and odd bits of mysticism, and a whole bunch of New Agers, and of course some pagans. So my mom told everyone that I'm like an occultist and a witch and such. And this woman comes knock on the door. She's like, I need some help. And my mom's like, oh, how can I help you? I'm like, oh no, I need your son's help. I think I've been cursed. I'm like, oh, okay. Now, personally, I used to have a friend who's a Catholic priest, and I kind of go by, even now, what the church will never officially tell you, but what they unofficially have is the 2% rule. And the 2% rule goes as such: 98% of the stuff the Catholic Church gets for like exorcisms, demons, stuff like that, can be very easily explained, either mental illnesses. Someone could be having a bad day, it could be schizophrenia, or DID, dissociative identity disorder. It could be all sorts of things that are completely rational, okay, or even people are faking, because that does happen. So, because little Johnny's not getting enough attention in school, and or from his parents are getting a divorce, but little Johnny's possessed by Asmodeus. So, anyway, not trying to invoke Asmodeus. That's a whole different thing. We have history. Anyway, so I say, okay, sure. And I start asking her some questions. And oh, yeah. So the church, once I said, that 2% rule, 2% of the time they do the rite of exorcism and they go through all the bureaucratic red tape. They do the rite of exorcism and it works. And even some priests have no idea why. They're like, oh, holy crap, it works. Okay. So I go by kind of a similar thing, and I asked this woman some questions. I said, you know what? I really can't explain everything that's happening to her. what the heck? Let me check her out. Now, part of my background, aside from all the occult stuff, is as an energy healer. So the first thing I do is check her out energetically. And lo and behold, I find this thing that I swear is kind of like this energetic dart lodged in her energetic body. And I said, holy crap. I can say that, right? Can I say crap? Is that okay? Okay. All right, just making sure. So I said, okay, that's really interesting. And I hadn't done a lot of work helping people with curses. I did a little bit, but nothing. I didn't actually have the opportunity to kind of like lay someone on like, massage table and like check them out energetically. And so I grabbed this energetic dart and I do what's called, I guess you call it energetic forensics. And I'll kind of go into some of this techniques in a little bit. But with energetic forensics, what I'll do is I'll literally grab some energy, whether it's like energy from someone's energetic body or energy from a place, or, my party trick here is if people are having metaphysical problems and I'm not there or it was in the past, I'll say, okay, hold out your hand and describe the incident and imagine the energy of the incident is going to your hand. And then lo and behold, they'll put that energy into their hand. And then I'll grab that energy ball from them. And then I'll hold that energy. And basically, I'll use tools of clairvoyance. I'll just hold that energy and get into a meditative state. And I'll see what information I get, colors, experiences. Usually I get like a lot more information than even my friend at the time knows. So anyway, I do like energetic forensics on this magical dart, and I can see the face of the person. I can see their hair color. I can even see what they were wearing. And I said, does this person sound familiar? And the woman, the look on her face, I literally would pay $100 now to see the look on her face again. She was astonished. She said, oh my God, that's so and so. And I said, okay, well, let's do some return to sender. So then I grabbed the energy and just said, back to that poor Mexican sorcerer. So, and I'll even go back because this is like the Black Magic podcast, right? Oh yeah, so I could get into some really good stuff. Yeah, we're gonna have some fun in a minute. So I did return to sender and it cleared her out, and then did some other like metaphysical work I don't want to get into. That's a little confidential, but and way too involved for this podcast. But needless to say, I said, someone did a curse and there's an energetic impact. So then I kind of started doing like kind of like my repertoire of magic. I started going through ceremonial magic again. I started going through the hoodoo. I started going through all these things. And I said, oh my God, everything has an energetic impact. At the end of the day, everything is energy. And of course, it was kind of like a no-brainer at the time. It's like, oh, duh. But, that's a great thing about being a practitioner of, some skill. And I've been doing this 25 years plus, is the fact that as time passes, I realize exactly how amazing and powerful I am at knowing absolutely nothing, and what a complete and utter idiot I am. And when things that a 5-year-old would find out from studying magic for 5 minutes are things that take me decades to understand. So, magic. Fickle, fickle, fickle. Anyway, so I wrote a book, some of you might know, called Energy Magic. And the whole thing with the book is I use my background with chaos magic. And chaos magic, of course, is a misnomer. It's really a postmodern approach to magic. A lot of people, of course, can use like pop culture with magical techniques. But really what chaos magic is a way to deconstruct magic. And it's really a way to think about magic more than a way to do magic. So as such, I deconstructed all the systems I knew to their barest essentials, and I started doing magic just by manipulating energy. So that's what my book's about. It's really about cutting the middleman. It's, I don't espouse or promote a certain tradition or a certain magical school. I try to mix things up. I'll use examples from different schools, but the whole point is magic is an energetic basis, and just by working with the energy directly, you can accomplish all these things. Now, the opposite part of this, and this is going to be like a future book, prequel of coming events, is that to make your magic even better than what it is now, and if you're using physical tools, especially tools of traditional witchcraft or hoodoo or things like that, where there's lots of stuff, if you have a knowledge of how the energy works, and if you use the kind of the things that I've been talking about in terms of energy magic, then you can kind of see the behind the scenes of a lot of techniques, and you can even make your own techniques a lot easier and they'll be more effective. So for example, just to give like a quick thing. So I've got, let's say I've got like a piece of quartz. Okay. So one thing that it's easy to do is, people are like, oh, I'm going to sense the energy of this crystal and see if it's appropriate, or I got to cleanse a crystal, blah, blah, blah. But instead, I find that a lot of practitioners, especially new ones, are kind of doing things more in their head. And they're almost doing things like, oh, I'm trying to psychically understand this crystal, have this psychic rapport with this crystal. But the thing is, this crystal has energy and we have energy and everything's energy. So your ability to feel and perceive energy really goes into how much you can manipulate energy. So with this crystal, of course, when I'm working with stones, I'm not just, oh, I'm placing a stone on my forehead for mystical powers or some nonsense. What I'm doing is I will energetically cleanse the crystal. I will put an intention into it, a specific energy. And whatever energy is in there, well, I'm going to program it like I'm programming, like I'm coding like a program for a computer, to do a certain task. And of course, with anything, any magical, substance, any materia, the idea is you want to work with it instead of against it. But if you look through all these grimoires, if you look through all these encyclopedias of magic and herbalism and stones and correspondences and colors and shapes and blah, 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 well, then everything is like, oh, well, it has 2 or 3 meanings. Well, how are you going to decide what the 2 or 3 meanings are? It says, okay, that's kind of your base to work with. Let's work with the energy, have these different energies work in concert. Let's have a certain intent, program that into the energy, and then you'll have a lot more things happen. And I'm honestly surprised how many people don't feel the energy of their magical material, feel the energy of the stones or feel the energy of the herbs and really connect with them. And the thing is, if anyone can work with energy directly, there's no question of faith. Okay. This is kind of actually one of my big breaks with standard religion is I do not like faith in a traditional sense. I like faith in that I can have faith in my friends because I can rely on them. When I say faith, I mean I can rely on something. I have complete and utter faith in the gods without question. To the point, if the gods say you're going to go on a plane and that plane's going to go down, I know I'm going to live without a question. I have complete and utter faith. So in that regard, in terms of magic and all this other stuff, I have zero faith. I believe in practical results. I want to feel it. So if I'm working with energy and, kind of the real quick thing you can do is you just rub your hands together. Actually, before that, let me kind of do a prelude to help everyone out and kind of stop everyone from being frustrated. I used to teach what I'm about to do and then it'd work about 80% of the time. And then I realized why it didn't work the other 20%. So I've actually kind of improved. So real quick, everything's energy. Okay. And everyone has an energetic body. And to kind of go on this point, if someone goes in a room where someone argued, everyone has done this and the room feels funky, right? Okay, there's energy in that room, and that energy has been shaped by 3 things. Well, where's the camera? 3 things. Intention, attention, and emotion. Okay? Intention is more of a thought thing. You're projecting thoughts, and this is where your programming energy happens. And this is where you're putting information into things, because everything holds information. Energy holds information. Attention. The more you pay attention to energy, the more you feel it, the more you're shaping your awareness, the more you're using the energy of your own thinking processes. So to the point, I'm going to tell you one of the 3 ways you can kill someone without tools with magic. One of the 3 ways to kill people with magic without lifting and a silly finger is that since everyone has an energetic body, you can just go ahead and imagine that you're looking at someone and imagine that person has a body of white light, okay? And that body of white light is their energetic body. Now, of course, it's more complicated, but we're creating a purposely created a perception filter. We're purposely creating a frame of reference. That frame of reference is that the person you're looking at has a body of white light. You can close your eyes, you can look at them, see the white light. Pretty simple, okay? If you do this, you will see it's mostly white, mostly light, but you'll see some dark spots. These are spots that need healing. There might be tears in the energetic body. There might be rips. There might be places of trauma, pain, all sorts of stuff. That's a whole different podcast, right? So if you pay attention to the dark spots in someone's aura or energetic body over time, you will kill them. They will have cancer and they will die, and you will be responsible. Now, the way that you don't kill someone, of course, with energy healing is that you focus white light into those spots. You fill them up. You see them healed. You're putting the intention of healing, and your intention is kickstarting a healing process. Anyone in the medical profession will say, well, the doctor's not really doing anything. The doctor is facilitating healing. In the same way, the magician, the healer, is facilitating the healing process that someone has naturally. Okay. Everyone heals themselves at the end of the day, really. So that being said, I'm not going to tell you the other two ways. Maybe we'll see how this recording goes.
Oh,
But
please. Oh, please.
maybe. I'm not going to make any promises. So,
Well,
I
let's
don't
go
want to
back
give.
a little bit then to
Yeah.
you said you had some practice in hoodoo. Now, I would love to learn voodoo and hoodoo. I find it very fascinating. Um especially like the spells and stuff.
Oh yeah,
Um
absolutely.
so can you talk a little bit about that? Not that I want to curse someone, but there's
Sure.
someone who I would like to energetically get away from me because he's annoying and he's a piece of poo. So can you talk a little bit about that and then maybe please share those other two because I really would like this person to leave me the heck alone.
So what I'll actually do, we can do a couple different things. Actually, I'm not going to go right to hoodoo because I just to kind of go on the tangent of energy work for
Mhm.
several reasons. So you have an aura. Everyone has an energetic body. Let's just assume everyone has an aura. Okay, let's not argue that for the love of the love of the gods. And when I teach basic and advanced protection magic, I teach to use your aura to like strengthen it, or of course to make energetic constructs, make energetic shielding, and there's all sorts of different types of energetic shielding. You can do alchemical ones, literally to take negative energy thrown at you and make you stronger and extend your life force. You can use shields that work like onions, where like layers drop off. But when I'll just kind of go. So I was walking as a dumb kid. I was walking the streets of Chicago, 2 in the morning, like you do. Bars, I left the bar that I was at, and I'm just like walking. I think I walked like 10 miles that night. Like I remember it was an ungodly amount of miles I walked. And I watched the sun come up, which is one of my favorite things to do. But I learned long ago that if I just go to my aura and if I project it with spikes, if I project it with negative energy, just even on the outer edge, people will pick up on that. Because here's the thing, people don't have to be like necessarily in a close proximity to detect energy. Here's the other thing, everyone does magic. Everyone does magic on a regular basis. They just don't call it magic, or they're untrained, or they just might be wild practitioners, as I like to say. So everyone does magic. If you go online like you do and you argue with some troll like you do and you feel upset afterwards or sick or nasty or negative and you're wondering, gosh, why do I feel so bad after talking with this troll about the virtues of bipartisan underwater basket weaving, and you're like, why the heck is this happening? Why do I feel so bad? Well, duh, we're all energetic beings, and that person just put the whammy on you and you didn't even realize it. So okay, so I'm going to go into cord cutting real quick, and I'm going to actually answer your question, and I'm going to kind of go back to an earlier thing about not getting caught. Because here's the thing: if you're doing black magic, or I like to say baneful work, that's kind of more popular term. If you're doing baneful work, you don't want to get caught. You don't want to get the whammy put back at you. Personally, I have a very martial arts. I've studied like several martial arts over time, and I have a very martial arts philosophy on magic. Okay, I do my best to help others. Literally, I give people my business card with my personal cell phone number, and I say, call me at 3 in the morning if you have an emergency. If you think you're possessed by like Payman at 3 in the stupid morning, give me a call and I'll happily do an exorcism. Okay, carte blanche, no problem. I will literally take the shirt off my back for people. I'm a very generous person. I care very much about people. I put down way more work than I should. I purposely have some kind of bad boundaries to this regard just so I can help as many people as possible. Okay. That being said, at this point in my life, I'm 46 years of age, and my time of taking crap is done. If you come after me, if you even make the mistake of coming after my loved ones for some silly reason, I will utterly destroy you. I will destroy you. I will make popcorn and I will watch. And there will not be a single comment on my social media. You won't know I did it. Your friends won't know I did it. Your life will be utter ruin. And I will smile. And I will be at peace. And I will sleep soundly with joy and good dreams. So, that being said, major mistakes most people make. Let's say energy, if you do like a candle spell or a hoodoo or some root work or a poppet, whatever. When you put magic out there, it leaves an energetic trace. It creates a cord. Here's the thing. I'm talking with y'all tonight. I talk with my friends. I connect with people all of the time. Every time we connect with people, we create these energetic cords. Typically speaking, they form along the chakras because the chakras are kind of coordinated with major aspects of just how we live in our existence. Okay. So when someone goes online, and of course it's popular on the TikTok, and I'm just like, I like to say that like I'm an old man. Oh, on the TikTok, that everyone's going to say I'm going to do a cord cutting spell. Well, your cord cutting spells aren't going to work half the time, and this is why: because you're not working with the energetic component. You're not keyed into the energetic component enough to make that spell effective. So if you're doing a candle magic and got like little strands, piece of yarn around the candles and blah blah blah, you can cut the middle person there, and you can just do the energetic work, and literally you can just feel your energetic connection to someone, and it's going to be multi-layer. So when I say cord cutting, it's almost like cable cutting because it's going to be like several cords all wrapped together in some crazy nastiness. But you can just literally feel the cords, feel the emotions connected, and then when you're ready, just energetically cut them and you're done. So going back to your question, that's one way to get rid of someone, because when you cut that energetic connection, everything's connected, okay? And even if they don't believe in magic, well, the magic believes in them. So they will feel that. They'll either feel a pull, they'll feel an absence, they'll say, I used to want to connect to Mark, but now I don't want to. I'm going to go do some other things, because magic and energy, like water, seeks the path of least resistance, okay? So they will go on to other connections. If you really want to have some fun too, make some black salt. That's actually way better than almost anything. And I love black salt. And I've got a great recipe for black salt somewhere. I'll find it, while I'm talking to you. But, here's the thing with magic that for me, and I love to just mess around. I love to like mess around and find out and see what works. People are like, man, Mark, you know so much about magic. Yeah. Do you know how many mistakes I've made? Do you know how many times like stuff's blown out back at me? Like, trust me, it's not because I'm smarter than anyone else or more talented. I just try more. Seriously, I'm just that guy. So, yeah, I find cord cutting extremely effective in getting rid of people. Black salt's great. My recipe for black salt. Can I put that in the chat? Or
Yes, of course.
all right, I'll go put that in the chat. And this is my homemade recipe. Hope everyone enjoys it. So that's from my personal grimoire, which I actually don't share with a lot of people. But what the heck, I'll be dead in like at least 100 years, so I might
At
as
least
well
100 years.
have as much fun as possible and spread as much magic as possible. So, let's see where I wanted to go. Oh, so any questions? I don't know. I'm sure you have some questions for me. And also, for the record, my favorite subject is talking about magic. So, I want to say one more thing for questions. So I talked about
Sure.
how black magic flows. Magic energy goes to the path of least resistance. So if you want to not get the whammy put on you, if you don't want baneful magic to have its make a foothold on you and have bad things happen, you can do a couple of very useful things. Now, the most useful thing: know your weak spots. Most people that do baneful work, not all, but most will just almost do like a general baneful working. Okay. Because I'm just going to put it out here. Most people are lazy. Okay. Or, efficient, but lazy. So most baneful work is more of the general variety. So if you have dark spots in your aura or your energetic body, like I was saying, those are going to get hit first. Okay. That baneful energy is going to go right there, like a heat-seeking missile. So if you have these problems in your life, if you don't have good health, if you know your romantic relationships are in peril, if you know you haven't have any sort of weaknesses at all, your car, as even your brakes are bad, and you haven't like changed the brakes and the brake pads in like too long.
How about
Obviously, your weak
relationship
point.
with money? Like my relationship
Oh,
with money is
yeah, yeah. That's
I
gonna
don't
get
think there's
hit.
something wrong with me because I can't attract it no matter what I do. I mean,
Actually, I know exactly why that's happening. So this is a whole different conversation. Well, not exactly. I'm not gonna be that arrogant, but here's my theory. Okay, and this is what I have found to be true with like many practitioners. Now, I'm not saying it's 100% true, but I'm saying like after like 20 different practitioners I've talked to, there's like, oh wow, that theory sounds right. So two things are going to happen, and this is why another reason why magic doesn't work sometimes. Um, I was working with someone who has a really natural ability to speak to the dead, better than mine. She's really gifted. I can speak to dead people like you wouldn't believe it. She was better than me, like way better.
ooh, I'm gonna have
And
to ask you to speak to a friend of mine.
maybe so, but I was saying, I was boggled. Like she couldn't access her gifts. Like she could like I could literally reach through her energy, and and it was amazing. But she couldn't do it consistently. I said, "Huh, that's weird." And I realized after talking to her, she had anxiety about death. She had anxiety about death in regard to her own death, like what happens when she dies. So I went on a whole metaphysical, I went on my whole diatribe and the whole explanation of what happens when we die to an exhausting energetic degree of exactly this is what happens to your energetic body when you die. This is what portal happens. This is where you go. There's a whole long thing, and that's a whole different podcast. Um, but after talking to her, she said, "Okay, I have some peace." She relaxed and she lost her anxiety about death. As such, her ability to communicate with the departed blossomed just like that. Very simple. In terms of things like money or love. So that's one thing real quick, that kind of drove home is we have problems with magic with anything that we have anxiety about. So if you want to do love magic and you have anxiety about being alone, your love magic's going to have some problems. Okay. So that's one thing. And of course, magic works best when you relax anyway. This is why there's all these meditation exercises and banishing rituals. It's to like create neutral energies, but also it's just to help you relax the heck out. So that being said, the other major reason most people's magic don't work or doesn't work is that we manifest constantly. We are magical creatures. Magic is just kind of putting emphasis on things. Humans are always magical beings. By our very nature, we manifest. Our thoughts, our actions, we manifest. The major problem, though, is we manifest out of trauma most of the time. We don't manifest out of our highest good. We're not connected to our highest good out of the time. We're not connected even to like our highest aspirations most of the time. So how can we manifest these great and powerful things if we're not connected to them energetically and emotionally? So if you're having problems with magic, especially in terms of stuff like money and love, you're going to have to do the personal work. You're going to, I hate to say it, but here's the honest truth. You're going to have to go to therapy. You're going to have to talk to someone. Find some way to process your trauma so you're not creating your trauma all over again. Because the other weird thing is happening is not only are you constantly manifesting your thoughts which are based on your emotions. Remember, energy is based on intention, attention, and emotion. But there's also kind of a weird kind of a spiritual lesson thing going. It's like we're kind of going through these spiritual Groundhog Day moments, these constant cycles of repetition so that we can learn and grow. We're manifesting our trauma almost as a weird gift to ourselves, really messed up gift. And no, thank you, self. Thank you. No, thank you. But we're manifesting these things happening, these patterns, so that we can deal with our trauma We can move on, we can grow, and we can evolve.
And that's it's funny you say that because I'm also trying to bring out my gifts. Now my gift of sight has, I mean, here has been tenfold, but I want to see with my physical eyes.
Sure.
And I'm I think my trauma is that I'm afraid of what I might see.
Sure.
Because I've
There you
I've had
go.
warnings about, oh, you shouldn't want to see people with your physical eyes. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I want to see spirits with my physical eyes. Especially
Yeah,
the one I want to talk to.
sure.
Um, but I think that um, I'm not sure, like, because I can do that magic eye. Have you ever done the magic eye where you have to kind of like pull your vision to a
Mm-hmm.
certain way and then you
Yeah,
see the picture within
I
the,
love those
like, it's a
things.
bunch of pictures. Um, I can do that. I've been doing that since I was young, and I was kind of like into the Goosebumps series, and then they had a magic eye where it was like a Goosebumps and you had to like look a certain way and you could see the hidden message within the pictures.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I've been able to do that. It's just bringing it to the fourfold. Now I can, um, Sonia has been working with me on this, and I can project like an object on the wall. It's just color is off.
Hmm.
But I can definitely like, or if it's a picture of someone I want to see who has passed on, I can project that and it kind of moves around with my eyes. But um, it's just like the color is off. Of course, they
Hmm.
have those pictures where they're off, and then if you stare at them for like what 10 seconds, and then you put it on a wall, you can see the color and everything.
Yeah.
So I can do that. It's just getting my gifts to come to the I mean, I'm clear audient. I can hear
Hmm.
the person I want to talk to who's passed on. I can feel certain situations, such as like claircognizance. So I
Hmm.
have that. I've always had that. Um, and then the sensing I'm getting a little bit better with, but it's the pictures and being clairvoyant, which I wish I had a little bit more of, but it seems like it'll come out of the blue. Like I'll see a picture of my man coming into my work, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And then me going, oh, it's you. So I want that to happen more often, but I think I'm
Sure.
trying to force it, you know what I
Yep.
mean? But
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
but the eye thing, like I've done everything. I even did like a spell book of like putting this certain herb on your eye.
Probably
And
mugwort.
yeah, and I can't see who I want to see
Sure.
in the spiritual form, and I want to so badly because I want to make sure that um I can see them.
Sure.
I can see them in my dreams all day long. I mean,
Yeah. So I would say I would say we kind of block ourselves in magic in terms of, oh, that can't happen. There's no way that's possible, and things like that. So for me, what I do, and I'll just go with my practice, my physical sight's not the best. It's actually gotten slightly worse over time. It's
I
I
was gonna
think
say I
it's
wear contacts.
yeah. So what I do, I will let's see. How much time do we have? Okay.
Oh, plenty of time. Take your
All
time.
right. Well, I'm pretty good at summing up
Oh,
things
he's
really
cracking his
quickly.
knuckles. He's
So,
really.
okay. So let's talk about as above, so below. Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about this real quick. So I have a physical body.
Mhm.
I have and of course, there's an energetic body, and that's when we're doing energy healing, or it's what's affected by energy. That's my energetic body. But my energetic body is also my emotional body. It's how I perceive emotions. It's how I feel things. And
Mhm.
because most magic is energy, your ability to feel emotions is paramount. It's absolutely necessary to work magic effectively. This is why I would argue very strongly that, stereotypically speaking, women are actually prone to be better at magic than men, for a simple reason that in our culture, women are better tied to their emotions. Now,
Mhm.
of course, that's somewhat sexist, but it's just a generalization, and I'm using this as to drive home a point about how important emotions are to magic, and it's something that we cut things out of.
Mhm.
And especially in like ceremonial magic, it's very mental. It's about, we're trying to use our minds to resonate with certain energies and or internalize like mental triggers. And in a lot of ways I view ceremonial magic as like applied psychology more than anything in some regards, especially on the lower planes. And let me explain on that. So let me, before, I don't like to like be cryptic. I really don't want to be like that occultist is like, oh, I'm going to put jargon and not explain things and be mysterious. I'm already mysterious and weird without trying to like make things harder for people who are honestly trying to learn knowledge. Okay.
Been there,
So,
done that.
right. So, physical body, energetic body, which is also astral and emotional. But we can also talk about our mental body. Okay. And then um, the mental body is really like the seat of consciousness. It's like it perceives everything. And this is like, about, like if I say the word chair, that's not something that's happening in your energetic body or your physical body. When I say chair, you're thinking of your archetype of a chair. So this is like the mental realm, the aspects of mental of consciousness. Okay. And lastly, there's the spiritual aspect. So, talking about the physical part of my body, the emotional, the mental. The spiritual is going to be that nice little thing we call the soul, and that's that part and parcel of the divine. That when I'm gone, that's going to go to some far realm, and I know exactly where I'm going after this life, and that's a whole different conversation. I've already got my tickets booked, so I'm going to a very, very specific place. Anyway, so
Me
it's not
too.
hell.
Me too.
My friends are like, "Oh, we're going to be in hell." No, no, I'm not going to hell. I've been there. It's not fun. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast conversation too. So these corresponds my physical body, myself, my microcosm corresponds to the universe. So this fourfold aspect of who I am really can be used as a metaphor to describe the universe in four parts. So there's a physical aspect, an astral or energetic, a mental or pure consciousness aspect, and like purely soul, purely spiritual. So this actually corresponds very nicely to the four Kabbalistic realms. It can actually correspond to the four elements in a way, and kind of the way my friends and I, and kind of like my magical work with close friends, we would talk about this more in like terrestrial, lunar, solar, and celestial. And that's also something that a lot of schools will use as well, or something very similar. So once again, the universe is a great map of the self. The self is a great map for the universe. Vice versa, as above, so below. Okay. So that being said, when we're talking about like evocation and invocation work, typically speaking, the spirits aren't going around on the material plane. Okay, they're in like some other plane. Spoiler alert: we are multidimensional. Because I have a physical body and a mental blah 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 that I've just gone through like 3 or 4 times, we are multidimensional by nature. If our selves corresponds to the universe, well then we are very multidimensional. So right now, you and I could be having a very completely different conversation on the realm of pure consciousness right now, or in the solar realm. And I would argue very strongly that this happens all the time, that we're dreaming all the time, that we're having these communications and we're learning lessons and in ways that we don't know, that we're shaped by subtle forces every single second without stop. And it's, we're just limited by our physical senses. And perhaps when we evolve in like a million years, we'll have some different senses and we'll see things a lot more interesting. Spoiler alert. So, oops, I should have said that before then. Oh, well. Sorry, not sorry. So, if we're multidimensional beings connected to multidimensional things, then it's really, really easy for us to connect on the astral, to connect on the energetic or emotional, and then work with that to the physical down. Because we're also working with, if we kind of do like another kind of dichotomy, if I use another mesocosm, or just a fancy word for like mental map or psychological map, and we have all these different mesocosms, right? We have chakras and Kabbalistic tree of life and the Norse 9 realms of the Norse and the elemental realms. And we have these great like metaphysical maps that are all saying, well, this is the one way we perceive the universe. Well, no, it's not. That's worse than like the fundamentalist Christians or monotheists saying our way is the one way. No, please, please do as my mentors told me many, many years ago. Please, I'm begging you, honestly, if you take one thing from this entire podcast, please take this one thing I'm about to say. It's that important. Do not confuse the map with the terrain. There's all these different maps. The terrain of the universe is infinite. But by virtue of the fact that we create these different mental maps, they really work more like operating systems. And the perception that we have, that we project on the universe, is the way that we can interact with it. This is why some people have amazing experiences getting their butt handed to them by goetic demons, while other people have amazing experiences where things work just right. No problem. Geez, I wonder why. Well, if you're going about things, waving your wands, threatening to put them in a brass bottle all the time, well, yeah, they're not going to be act nice. If someone said, Mark, if you don't grant my wish and bring me my true love and lots of hedonistic pleasure, shall we say, well, then I'm going to put you in a brass bottle. What do you think I'm going to do, fool? What do you think? Anyway, it's about building relationships and building relationships with spirits, with ourselves, with fellow practitioners. And here's the thing, we're all connected. And if we can't play along nice with each other, with the spirits, with the gods, with the universe herself, well, then we're really biting ourselves in the rump. And worst case scenario, we're just metaphorically speaking, urinating in the collective energetic pool of life and existence. And that's not cool. That's why we all need to put ego aside, because there's far more things happening. And honestly, let's just go there. There are spiritual forces that don't like us all the time, that really don't have our best interests at heart. And just because you can't perceive them doesn't mean they can't perceive you. So that's a different podcast. Where am I going with this? Where am I going with this is that with speaking to the departed and working with different spirits, what I found very useful is deconstructing the normal evocation process. Okay, so what I'll do literally if I'm working with a spirit and my desk is, I do magic everywhere. So I literally have candles and crystals within reach everywhere, which is ridiculous. So what I'll do is I'll take 3 little normal tea lights. Okay, 3 little tea lights, and I'll put them in a triangle, and then I will draw a triangle energetically with those candles. Okay, now what I'm doing is energy shaped by intention. I'm intending this to be a portal, to be a gateway, but also a container. Here's the thing, and if anyone knows who Ryan Lloyd is, if you don't know who Ryan Lloyd is, look Ryan Lloyd up. Ryan Lloyd is a genius, okay? He is an absolute metaphysical and occult genius. He's a chaos magician, and he created what's called Ellis, which is a linking sigil, which basically saying if you put graffiti, I'm not just giving an example. Let's say I want to break, let's say Matt's in jail, okay? And I want to do a spell to get Matt out of jail, okay? I'm going to do something quick and dirty, and let's say I live in New York City. Well, I can take the Ellis sigil, which looks like an L and an S that's stylized. It's kind of fun. I can get some spray paint and a stencil and spray paint the Ellis sigil on the Statue of Liberty. Then I can go home, put the representation of the Ellis sigil on my altar, and I can do some magic. And I'm literally linking the energy of liberty from the Statue of Liberty to my workings, where I can get a hold on that magic and that energy very accessibly. And then I can do a working to break, poor Matthew out of jail. So, but that's the thing. Ryan's a genius at that sort of magic. So I was watching an old video of his, and I am going somewhere, everyone. And he said, well, with magicians, you're not just creating a magic circle to for protection. And this is something I knew inherently, but just to hear him vocalize what I'm about to say was very profound and meaningful to me. He said, when you're casting a circle, you're creating reality. Now I do this all the time because even in my book, I say, you don't have, if you're casting a circle from so much as Western occultism nowadays or witchcraft is Wiccan inspired. You don't have to cast a circle with the 4 elements. You can cast a circle with the energies of the Sabbats. You can cast a circle with the energy of the 12 signs of the zodiac. You can cast a circle with the cardinal astrological points, astrological signs. You can cast a circle with just north, south, east, and west. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can cast even a circle with chakra energies and say, I'm starting here. I'm invoking the first chakra on this part, and you just have like a 7-sided magic circle. Or you know what I'm saying, right? Does that make sense? The point being, when you're creating a circle, you're creating the universe. It's not that you're commanding the universe. It's not like, a lot of ceremonial magic that, I'm taking the power of Jehovah and I'm commanding things and I am the Lord of the universe. And this is my Christopher Lee voice. So it's not that you're doing that. It's that when you cast that circle, you're creating the universe as with your rules, with your intentions, your corner of reality. You're writing the codes for how the universe is focusing in that circle. So your magic will work as you see fit within that circle. Okay? So magic is really creating reality. So as such, if I'm doing a circle, I'm creating the rules. So I don't necessarily have to create a circle to do this, but even with like the triangle manifestation I'm doing with spirit work, by my intent, I'm creating the rules. And so if I'm getting like rid of like a spirit that's attached to someone, I'll literally grab onto the energetic connection of that person, and I will basically energetically hammer that into the triangle, where I'll use that cord as a way to manifest that spirit. And lo and behold, that spirit will be there. And I don't trust my physical eyes as much, as some people might, but I do trust my sense of touch. So when I'm going to the triangle, and that triangle, of course, goes by my rules, so that thing cannot hurt me. Well, yes and no, but it, for lack of a better metaphor, it is under my control. Not really, and it gets really messy with different spirits, but the point I'm trying to make is that I have control of that triangle. I have control of that energy. I've set the rules. Okay. And so you can use a similar technique to talk to the departed. Now, what I have, I'm just going to grab it because it's within arm's reach, because everything's within arm's reach. And, I have a nice little spirit board, and I like the round ones because they work way better when you're working with a group of people. And I just like round because my spirit board's not a telephone. A lot of people view a spirit board as a telephone. My spirit board's a portal. So what I do, and of course, just because I don't want, because I learned the hard way, but not, it's a whole different story. But I keep an energetic lock. I literally have like created a keyhole with energy, and I can create an energetic key as I see fit. And there's an energetic lock, and I will like lock my spirit board or unlock it. And what I'm doing is I'm unlocking a portal. So you can key in all the different things you do to be portals. So I would say with like a spirit communication, what's really nifty is creating those portals. And you can work with the kind of like the easy way to do it is to work with like your intentions, because when you're creating a portal, you can just, and for a specific purpose, you're kind of like unconsciously or subconsciously even having like this intent that I'm creating a portal for this purpose. And you don't have to go into like heavy mechanics. Okay. Like literally 3 people linking arms around a spirit board can open a portal as effectively as like a well-trained magician if their intent and emotion is there. And honestly, I've seen some untrained practitioners do some crazy stuff like you wouldn't even believe. You'd think I was nuts. I think I'm nuts sometimes. I literally have to like say, okay, did that really happen? Do I have proof? So that being said, the other way to kind of like I work with portals is I like to make portals between places I've already been to. And that makes it more effective. And so when I'm weaving a portal, I'm literally taking the energy of this room, the energy of the other place, and I'll weave them together, because a portal is a liminal space. It is a place that's not here or not there. It's a liminal space. And if I weave it with energy from 2 places, I've kind of woven together this kind of, neat kind of like opening, And then, of course, with my intention as I'm doing it, I want to say, oh, is this a portal of banishing? Is it going to be like if I was sucking, more of a vacuum effect? Is it going to have a more projective effect? So you can key all these things in, and you want to be, of course, be as specific as possible. So kind of going to the point on spirit communication, it's really a lot easier to have a portal because you're working with these subtle realms. because what happens is if we're multidimensional, when the physical body goes, that means the rest of us is still there. And then that means the astral layer is kind of this really, it's its own liminal space between the departed and us. And this is why it's easy to like get, visions and dreams of the departed, because we kind of overlap our consciousness with the astral. Like they can obviously move to the astral. We're actually moving to the astral by virtue of having emotions even. So yeah, that kind of works easy. So what I recommend, if you're having problems with your spirit practice, create a liminal space in order to make those things easier, because otherwise the liminal space is really in your head. So when you have like the liminal space that's outside of you, you know, it's kind of doing some more of the work. It's offloading some things so you can work on opening yourself up, as opposed to worrying about, oh, my opening. And this might even be unconscious. Just kind of like on a computer, you have background programs. This could be like literally a background process of your mind. So if you have this external thing, you're kind of freeing up energy to have better spirit communication success. I hope that helps.
And what is can you tell maybe you already answered this, but what is the space that you were speaking of? Like how would you create that? I guess I mean cuz my altar is
I'm
here in my
sorry.
office.
Yeah, it can be in your office. Like literally, you can have. I mean, if I wanted to be really funny about it, I can make like a triangle like that big, and literally like a triangle 3 inches apart, and like evoke a spirit into a really tiny triangle, and it'd be actually kind of funny. But if I'm doing something for, that's not very respectful though, so I wouldn't do that. And I do like to have good relationships with the things I work with. I don't know. Maybe if I invoke. I might have a dead friend or two that might think that's funny, so I might do that on April Fools or something. But anyway, that's not a. I'm not recommending this. I'm just kind of
Hardy
being
hard
silly.
hard, Mark. That wasn't funny.
Yeah, exactly. Totally, totally. Of course, now that someone's probably going to hear this recording in 50 or 60 years, and like, oh, you know what I'm going to do to Mark? That's okay.
So just like create a triangle with candles, or
Yeah,
maybe I have a lot of crystals on my altar, so
you
I
can do
could
that
do maybe
too. And
crystals.
and that's the thing. I mean, the more work you put into things, the more complex the things are, the more effective they're going to be. So if you even had like quartz crystals, which are literally like the
I do.
tofu of metaphysics. I mean, it's really like spiritual tofu. Really.
Tofu. When you said you put it like I used to put it on my forehead and
Yeah, I used to do that too. Yeah,
helping it to open my third eye. Um
yeah.
but I have angel light as well, which is good for spirit communication, but also telepathy as well.
Mhm.
So I was thinking, since I have so much angel light, I
Yeah,
could probably just put that into a circle and see if
sure.
my friend will come through.
Yeah, but what I would do is I would clear out each specific crystal. I would clear out the background energy, and then I would put in an intention. Oh, that reminds me back to energy. I didn't go back to the exercise. So, man, I do apologize to both of you and anyone listening to this. I do have ADHD, if you can't tell.
No, that's
So,
fine. You take as much time as you need.
so with energy, we have these energy centers in our energetic body. Chakras, seven main chakras are very popular, of course, but we also have chakras in our hands and feet. So what you can do is, I will just go ahead and I will pump my hands and then reverse. And what I'm doing is I'm opening up my hand chakras. And you can go ahead and try it. Just like go ahead and like pump your hands like 10 or 15 times, and then flip. And then just put your hands very slowly together. Don't let them touch. And then move them back, and you'll still feel like some tension. So you've opened up your hand chakra so you can perceive energy, and all you're perceiving right now is just the edge of your aura. Okay. So if you go in and open up your hand chakras more, you can do stuff. And this is like actually the first exercise in my book is, you rub your hands together, and then you keep rubbing them and imagine the energy in your body and the energy around you is just collecting between your hands, and then put your hands apart, kind of repeat, but slowly apart, slowly together. Don't let them touch. And then when you feel that tension, just pay attention to it. Because once again, attention is important. And pay attention to that feeling and use that to help guide you about how you can shape the energy. And then you can do the trick. You can put your hand like very slowly apart, And then very slowly on it, you'll feel the ball, and you're like, "Oh my god, I can feel energy!" Like, yes, you are a magician. Congratulations. So, and that's the energy, of course, we're talking about magic and energy healing and all that good jazz. So, yeah, that's kind of like the basic energy exercises. And once again, I'll kind of sensitize my hands to the energy of the crystal. I'll clean it out energetically, and I'll like literally imagine white light, just like, I know it's a little new agey, but imagine like white light streaming through the crystal. But I'm not just streaming the energy of. I missed a very important point. So I talked about as above, so below, but the other kind of mental map I like to talk about is heaven and earth. And what I mean by that is I mean that according to Einstein, E equals mc squared. What that means to us practitioners of the art is that there is a relationship between spirit and matter. In fact, what that literally means is spiritual duality is a lie. It's an illusion. Everything is one thing. All we're talking about is spectrums. Just like white light is divided into a spectrum of the rainbow, we're talking the chakras, for example, are a rainbow for a reason, because you're talking about energy flowing from heaven to earth. Okay. And as the energy flows, it changes, but it can also go two ways. And so you see this in the chakra system, of course. You see like one pathway going from, the lower chakras up, but I like to say that's going from earth to heaven. That's the path of like liberation. And you see this, of course, in Eastern thought, that you're like liberating yourself to spirit. Now, the other thing is, you get here to this point of spirit, that's all fine and dandy, and you've had your enlightenment, and you're at one with the universe, and you're God, and I'm God, and the plants are God, and everything's connected, and everything's one, and there's no time, and time is an illusion. And okay, I gotta admit, it is pretty dang cool. However, you're gonna come down. You are not equipped to deal with that, and this in the incarnation you are in this stage of human development. I am so very sorry, because I wish that was true. I truly do. So that being said, you're kind of at this spiritual height, and then you're going to come back down to earth, and this is the path of manifestation. And this is where the energy of heaven comes down to earth. And this is where like a lot of the monotheistic prophets are like, "Oh man, dude, I was there, the burning bush happened, I was talking to God, and dude, I gotta get these tablets, yo, and I gotta like write down the stuff, because man, this was a heavy trip talking with God, yo. Jehovah said, wait, I got this feeling from Jehovah, but now I'm thinking about, man, okay, Jehovah, how should I eat? Should I eat shrimp? Should I eat pork? I don't know. Let me like write this down while I'm inspired by like this experience, man. Like, yeah, shrimp are bad." Anyway, that's what happens. We try to write down. We try to like, and it's not because we're trying to do something fancy or even egotistical. I think it really comes to a place of, wow, I had this profound thing happen to me, and I want to get back there. And if I can like write this down or codify it or create rituals or symbols or some way to talk about my experience, well, then I can use it as a ladder to get back. And I think that's kind of like the whole point. A lot of like schools, mystery schools, especially, that people have these mystical experiences. They try to like manifest it in symbols and words, and write things down as much as possible so that we can all get back there eventually. But humans are flawed, unfortunately. It doesn't quite work out right. So, but where I was going with energy is things, of course, change back and forth between heaven and earth, matter to spirit, manifestation, liberation. There's always this dynamic happening all the time. And that's very important with magic, because if our thoughts shape reality and we have these emotional investments and we're trying to do magic, let's say about money, that's really happening on the level of like consciousness, the solar realm and the lunar realm, consciousness and like emotions, so that those things will kind of trickle down. And there's a natural trickle down effect, not like trickle down economics from like, as Ronald Reagan would have said. I'm talking about an actual trickle down of like of energy, of really information going from one, and how it changes and transforms and looks from like one realm to another. Going back to your spirit communication, just trying to like wrap things up a little bit, is that having these physical things on earth, because there's not a physical body, kind of help with like that current, where if we create like a physical place for a spirit to lead. And there's actually some really good necromancers will say, If you set up shop somewhere, you shouldn't move. You should just like put your necromantic tools in this one spot and that one spot only for as long as you're doing necromancy, so that you're creating like a body for the spirits to like connect to. So, so that's the thing that we work with. I mean, I like doing stuff just with energy, but I also have to acknowledge that energy I'm working with has a direct physical and practical effect on something. I mean, if I'm just like moving energy around, like I can just move energy around. Woo! I'm moving energy, yay me! And if I'm going to goth night at the club, if you see me at the goth night, I mean, I'm like spinning sigils and I'm doing fun stuff and I'm spinning energy just for the fun, and I'm just having a good old time. Dancing in like Sisters of Mercy, like making like doing crazy sigil magic. But but yeah, you want to have practical results. You want your spirit to be grounded in the physical, and going back to spirit communication, having like some way, having some physical thing that the spirit can kind of sink into, like have home in, like have a seat at, that works. There's a reason that in possession work they talk about the host being like the seat of the gods, because that's where the deity rests.
Wow, that's how much is your book, and where can we find it?
My book is pretty much everywhere. It's like from Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. Pretty much you search Energy Magic, and that's magic with a K. You'll
Okay.
find it everywhere. It's about $16.95 now, and I think not the audiobook, the Kindle, or electronic version, however it goes, like depending on where you're buying it from, like Barnes and Noble or Amazon. That's like half the cost or something. And honestly, I've been doing book clubs, and I'll have more information on that, like on my website and social media. But honestly, I'm so when I first, not when I started out, because when I started, I had great teachers, but I was kind of at the intermediate level, and I would still even now say I'm at an intermediate level. I wouldn't say that, even though I can do some pretty advanced stuff. Like I know there's people better than me, and here's the thing: the people that are better than me, most of them you'll never know, because why should they be known? They're out there rich. They're out there living on a private island, or they have like a sugar mommy or a sugar daddy. Trust me, I've met a few of them. You're not going to
I
meet
wish
them.
that was me, but I wouldn't have a sugar daddy. I would have my soulmate who
Right.
has come into my life, and it
Sure.
was just like, wow, I can't believe my soulmate came into my life.
Yeah. And there's
Um,
lots of other great practitioners out there as well. I'm not trying to like down on anyone, but where I'm going with this is when I was trying to get better, and I went to people with humility and I said, look, I need to know this. This is where I'm at. I'm stuck. Please help me. And I had many people, and I'm not going to name names, like ignore me or say, you know what, just get my book, or you know what, I can't help you, or why are you even talking to me? And so I made a very, very solemn vow to myself then and there that if I ever became to a place where I had a book out and people said, oh, wow, Mark, you know something about magic, that I would be literally the most accessible occultist known to humankind. So you can find me on social media. You can find me everywhere. If you want my cell phone number, I'll give it to you. I mean, seriously, I'm here to help people. I want magic to be everywhere. I literally would like want as many people on this planet to do magic, make their lives better, make the world better, and work their own self evolution and growth.
Amazing. Um, because I mean, I'm at that point where I'm literally stuck, and I've tried everything to get my sight to be my physical eyes. Um, but I've done affirmations and subliminals. Subliminals are sort of working. I would say they are sort of working. Um, Also, do you help people with like because you said we're all interdimensional. Do you believe in like shifting and like shifting to other timelines?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one for the simple reason that I've done some time magic, and I once had a point where I went back to talk to myself to stop myself from doing something, and actually created it, because me giving myself the information was the thing. It's like the movies, man. Time magic's crazy. Like I try not to mess with it,
Mhm.
because I also have way more other things to do. What I'm more interested in is shifting to other realms. And I'm actually, this is kind of a project I'm working on with a few people, for my own magical practice, but it's also going to be a book eventually. And I actually have a 13-year plan to publish about 150 books. It's kind of crazy, I know.
Mhm.
I'm actually, I've got one book done. I've got two books almost done. Another three books I'm working on. So I'll make it one way or another. I'm just a little slow this year, unfortunately. But that being said, I'm working on an astral travelogue book where basically, look, me and some other practitioners went to hell. Me and some other practitioners went to the realm of the other world of the Fae. Me and some other practitioners went through like the 9 Norse realms. This is what we found. This is how you can get there. These are things to watch out for. So I believe in shifting realities. And Alan Moore, who's an occultist, but also more well known as a comic book writer who did like Watchmen and Promethea and some other great stuff, he had this really great metaphor that we're more like radios, and we tune into different realities. And what I really think, honestly, is everything is happening right now. That there is no like other world. Everything is layered on top of each other. We just have to tune into it. Granted, of course, you could tune into multiple things at the same time, and that would get messy. But it also makes me think, because this kind of begs the question too, how much out there is mental illness. And I'm not trying to like make light of people's mental illness, because goddess knows I've had my own mental health struggles, and I've had plenty of friends with very intense things. But sometimes I have to wonder, because how much mental illness is they're just not tuned into our reality the way that they need to be functional. And also, what are they seeing? What are they perceiving? I have no idea. So like, there is definitely like a correlation between mental illness and spiritual gifts.
Mhm.
We can definitely talk about that. And goddess knows the best empaths I know in the world are ones who've had the worst childhood, because they've had to like you develop very strong empathy to anticipate if their dad's going to beat them or if their mom's going to like do something. So
That's where
definitely
I
there's
came
something off
from. That's why
about.
my mom and I don't have a very good relationship.
So
And I
there's
ended
something
that cycle with my own son. He's 7, he'll be 8 in October, and I said to myself, "I'm not gonna be like my mom. I'm not going to hurt him the way I was hurt."
Yeah.
Offline, I would like to ask you one more question, but I would rather not have it public.
Yeah, anything.
But, so we are gonna wrap up here. I
Sure.
hope everyone has enjoyed this. I think Matt went to go help his son or something. So, but thank you, everyone. And again, if you would like to learn more about Mark, all the links will be in the description field. And you can buy his book. I think I'm going to buy it as well, off of Amazon, because that's where I buy most of my books. So if you would like to learn more about him and you would like to get a hold of him, all his information will be down in the description field. But I would like to thank Mark, of course, for coming on and gracing us with your amazing gifts and story. I think that's absolutely fabulous.
Oh, thanks.
But for Matt and I, that is the rest of us. So we will be back next week. Matt, do we have a
Just
person?
us.
Just us.
Sorry.
Okay. So think of some ideas. But we will be back next week, me and Matt. But Mark, we definitely have to have you back on again to
Oh,
go
thanks.
further into the energy and the
Sure.
chakras and all the mediums
Oh
we
yeah,
have in our
whatever.
bodies. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and blessed be everyone. Blessed be everyone. Hello. I just want to let everyone know that the outro music is AI generated. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. And also, if you would like to generate your own AI, the link in the description field will be for their website. Blessed be everyone.
In the woods where the whispers run deep, underneath the moon, where secrets we keep, she dances in the shadow with the silver tide. Candles flicker soft, guiding light as a guide. Her altar's filled with herbs and old charms, lost in ancient spells, safe in her arms. Stars weave a tapestry across the black sky. With a chalice raised high, she lets out a sigh. With her sacred circle drawn tight, calling to the spirits in the quiet of the night. Her magic's in the earth, the wind and the seas. She whispers ancient words, swaying like the trees. In a grove of oaks, where the world stands still, she gathers her strength with every Sabbath thrill. The moon's tender gaze, casting shadows cold, the stories of her craft in the twilight retold. The broom by her doorstep, sweeping away all the dark shadows of yesterday. With the cauldron bubbling, herbs to the air, every spell she casts is a heartfelt prayer. With her sacred circle drawn tight, calling to the spirits in the quiet of the night.